John Solomon is with us. He is the CEO and editor-in-chief of Just the News. If you don't check that every day, you are really missing out on a great news site, justthenews.com. John, I have made a promise to my audience a long time ago. I do my best not to waste their time. And as I am looking through the things I want to talk to you about, I have to start with this question. Is any of this going to mean anything in the end? Or are we just spinning our wheels and wasting our time talking about how deep this scandal with James Comey is becoming?
That is a great question, and I don't think history has answered it yet. It will really depend on the tenacity and the focus of the Justice Department, the prosecutors, and the jurors that are going to catch these cases, right? Are they willing to rise above politics and say, we don't want an FBI that goes after people based on their political color, not the quality of the evidence against them. And that is what began in 2015 on James Comey's watch, a different type of FBI that seemed to go after Donald Trump and his associates, regardless of evidence, and protect Democrats like Hillary Clinton and Hunter Biden, even though the evidence against them was pretty strong, as we ultimately found out from the IRS whistleblower. So we don't know yet. Listen, these are going to go to trial if the judge lets them go to trial. The judge in the Comey case seems to be giving the prosecutors a hard time there already, but that's going to be litigated. It's probably going to go up to the appeals court and the Supreme Court. These are going to be long battles. But the question for everyone is the fight worth it? I think if you don't punish the people that created this mentality, you have destined America for a long time banana republic prosecution arc. And I think that's not what Americans want. They want to be able to say the FBI is above politics. It hasn't been in the last decade until maybe the last few months under Kash Patel.
Okay, so let's talk about what the new evidence is, the burn bags, the hidden rooms, and the evidence that now has been found that shows Comey looks like he was lying to Congress when he said, no, I didn't know anything about it. Yeah. So let's remind what the alleged lie is, what he's been accused of and indicted of lying. He told Congress in 2017 and then reaffirmed unequivocally in 2020 that he never asked any of his staff to anonymously leak or provide information to the news media. The government, Kash Patel, found significant documents that go to the contrary. Found these under John Durham, but they chose not to go after James Comey. So in the Bill Barr administration, they knew the same evidence and they didn't go after him. But what is the lie? He told Congress, I didn't. Two things. One, I never authorized anyone to leak to the media anonymously about the Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump cases. And two, I don't think I knew anything about a intelligence intercept that Hillary Clinton was setting up a fake Russian collusion hoax that we then ended up investigating. Well, what we now know first is that his own emails with his own top lieutenant, Daniel Richman, a former lawyer who he brought in as a special government employee of the FBI, so he's an FBI employee, show that James Comey told Richmond, good job, and make them wiser, as he was briefing them on how he was anonymously trying to spin the New York Times and provide information to the New York Times about the Hillary Clinton case. So directly on point to the testimony he gave. I didn't authorize anyone to leak about Hillary Clinton, and their emails show his guy was leaking, and he was affirming it and say, go ahead, and even encouraging him to make that reporter wiser. In other words, give them more information anonymously. So that's the first lie. The second lie, right?
And by the way, a grand jury bought that evidence and said, we believe you lied. Now there's a second piece to it, and that is what we call the Clinton plan intelligence. Was Comey, as John Brennan claimed and as other evidence showed, did Comey know, did he pay attention, did he have some awareness that as his FBI was starting to investigate the Russia collusion ruse, the hoax, that Hillary Clinton had been intercepted, or her people had been intercepted, showing that she approved the plan to create this hoax. He said, doesn't ring true to me, I don't think I knew about it. Well, in a locker, in a burn bag, they found some handwritten notes of James Comey that appeared to include the briefing from John Brennan, where he clearly knew that Hillary Clinton had been intercepted, or her team had been intercepted, saying she approved this plan to hang a fake Russian shingle on Donald Trump's campaign house. Now, those are handwritten notes, his notes.
Yeah, that is in his handwriting.
that he clearly understood. And so now you've got him on two really significant lies that show that this whole thing they were in collusion with one another, and all of this was bogus, and they knew it from the beginning.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's why, when you look at this, and then let's take the third back of this, those notes were never produced in earlier subpoenas to Congress or other investigations. They were found in a room where it appears, according to the government, there was an effort to get rid of or hide this evidence. So it had been hidden from prior subpoenas, according to the government, according to Lindsay Halligan's prosecutors. And then two, it looked like they were in burn bags and almost burned, meaning they would never be there. Now, some other people said, there's electronic records of it. It turns out, according to the government, there was no electronic record of the notes, meaning if they had been burned or destroyed or hidden, we would never have had them. Now, why would James Comey want to lie about this? Because as we see in these same emails, it appears he had a motive. His motive, as he wrote his colleague, is, I fully expect to be working for President-elect Hillary Clinton. She's talking this way before the election in 2016. He thought Hillary was going to be his boss. And as he wrote Dan Richmond, he said, I think Hillary Clinton will be, quote unquote, pleased by the way I handled her email case. In other words, he deep-sixed it in July. He reopened it and cleared her a second time. And when the smoke cleared, Hillary would like him and keep him on as FBI director. That is the insinuation of those notes. So if he was in bed with Hillary,
I want to give the exact phrase he wrote. A President-elect Clinton will be very grateful.
Yeah, grateful. I'm sorry. You're right. You're right. It's grateful. So he expected that to be the outcome. If that's his mindset in the fall of 2016, and he opens up an investigation on Hillary Clinton, what we now know to be a ruse, bad evidence, an agency had to lie to the FISA court to get the FISA warrants. If his motive was that, or his thinking was that, he probably is not going to want to admit that I was warned that maybe this was all a joke before I allowed this investigation to go forward, before I affixed my name to a FISA warrant that the courts have now said was misleading, false, and violated the law. So that is the context in which the prosecutors are going to try to bring this case. Now, it's going to be in Northern Virginia, where there are a lot of federal workers and a lot of anti-Trump sentiment. Can they get a conviction? We don't know. But is it worth trying to do it? Most people I talk to say yes, because the alternative is you have, by inaction, sanctioned it, which is what Bill Barr and John Durham did by not bringing this prosecution in 2020.
Yep. All right. Can I switch topics? There's something that came out today. James Comey's daughter and the Epstein case. Apparently, James Comey's daughter sent a message to Epstein that if you don't even have to prove it, but if you can show us anything that ties Donald Trump to this, it's going to go a lot easier for you. Can you give me this story?
Yeah, I've seen it. I've not been able to corroborate that. So I'm always in this world of media today. I try to be super careful because it's hard to know if things are true or true to dig in. I haven't found anyone yet who seems to know the proof on it. It's possible. Who knows? I mean, prosecutors make these sort of deals all the time. And as we know, it seems in the last decade or two, I think when you got to go back to the era of the Ted Stevens prosecution, the IRS pursuit of conservative groups, and maybe the prosecution, which turned out to be malicious and wrong, of Virginia Governor McDonnell. There's a culture that began at the beginning or around the time of the Obama era, where winning for prosecutors is more important than winning fairly or on the strength of the evidence. And that's why these cases ultimately got overturned. That mentality exists in the Justice Department. And then when you add the nature of politics, the Trump derangement syndrome that seems to come in 2015, you have a very dangerous prosecutorial and law enforcement system that's easily weaponized and can easily cheat. And unless you got multi-million-dollar lawyers, you're probably going to get hosed, because very few people are going to find the grounds to overturn this. And that is the crushing power of the state that Jim Jordan talks about, Chuck Grassley talks about, that Donald Trump wants to reform. And I don't know in this case whether Miss Comey did this or not yet, because I can't find anyone that can confirm it yet. But if I do, I'll come back to you. But the scenario that's described does go on, and we've seen it And it's very, very troubling. There's a case coming up soon in New York where the SEC has to admit that there were journalists writing fake stories that then were used to justify investigations of companies, some of them conservative. This system of cheating to get a consequence, regardless of whether it's warranted, is something we all got to take a deep breath and start to really fix. We got to fix it, or we're not going to be any different than Venezuela and Iran.
I will tell you that I'm so glad to say that you said I can't confirm this. I haven't found a source to confirm it, because when I read that story, it looks as though one of the people that is telling this story is the guy who is in jail with Epstein, who would also have motive for making something like this up. So, I don't want to exonerate her and I don't want to condemn her. I just want the truth.
Yeah.
And he doesn't seem like a reliable source.
Yeah, I think we got to go get the evidence and try to see if it's true. Listen, it's a lead. It's something that someone has said. Let's check it out and find out if it's true. We learned that Russia collusion wasn't true. I think we're going to learn that most of Ukraine impeachment wasn't true. And I think today we just got to dig in first, get the facts. But we'll do that. I promise. I'll get back to you as soon as I know what I can find out from the government.
Yeah, thank you, John. I appreciate all your hard work. John Solomon from Just the News. Go to justthenews.com. Follow him, John Solomon, J. Solomon Reports on X. But he is an old school journalist, investigative reporter who's worked for everybody until everybody was like, you can't say those things. That's our side. And then he just left and did his own thing. And I'm very grateful for it. Editor-in-chief and CEO of Just the News, John Solomon.